We're back at the Hustler Casino in Los Angeles to support Ethan and Mariano at their meetup game. It's a 5-5, $300 to $1,000 cap, and we're in for the max. We get sat at probably the best table in the room. A vlog watcher named Aram is seated across from us and immediately buys us a green tea shot. After taking a few pictures with fans of the vlog, we then run into Marty from the Tiki Bar home game a few vlogs back.
It's Marty from the home game, the Blackout King.
I'm not drunk this time.
He's not drunk this time.
Not yet.
What's up, Marty?
We're finally ready to get into the action. First hand is a $10 double board PLO bomb pot, and I have jacks with suited diamond and clubs. The flop on both boards come all diamonds. Bang! We flop 2 flushes in one hand. Never did I imagine to say that in a sentence before, but we have the king high flush on the bottom and the queen high on the top, only losing to an opponent that has the ace high flush. Not really sure what to do in double board bomb pots to begin with, let alone when I flop such a good hand. The board isn't paired on both boards, so I lead out for $20 and only the player to my left makes the call. The board on the bottom stays all red. It comes the 8 of hearts. The top board's the ace of spades. The board does not pair. We probably have the best hand on both again. For that reason, I bet small here into the $120 pot for 45 bucks. The opponent does not get out of the way just yet. He tosses in a bunch of yellow chips, and the board does not pair again on the river. Great news for us. If we were ahead on the flop and turn, we're definitely ahead on the river, only really losing to one combination. For that reason, there's 210 in the middle, and I want to get value and not have him fold. If he has a set, maybe he'd pay us off on one of the boards, so I bet out small here for 50 bucks. The opponent snap calls me for 50 bones, and I turn over my 2 flushes. He does as well. He had 5-4 of diamonds and mucks his other 2 cards. We both flop flushes, and if this is indicative how the rest of the session is gonna go, you guys are in for a fun video. Keeping up with the action here, we look down at the bullets and I raise it up to $20. I have $11.50 in my stack, and we get called in 2 spots, so we're off to a flop, which comes pretty harmless. King 6-9 with 2 spades. When I go for a c-bet of $30, both opponents find the fold, and we're 2 for 2 on the night, taking down yet another pot. A thing that's been happening pretty recently is people asking me to sign a specific card in a deck. Of course I'm going to do it, and you know I'm picking a 7. Haven't really picked which suit is my favorite just yet, but if you guys see me out there with a deck of cards, better believe I'm choosing a 7. The vlog watcher this time is Baines Comics, a super cool guy, and he gives me 2 Wolfpack comics at this meetup game. It's not even my meetup, and I'm getting gifts. Shout out to Baines Comics. Go follow him on Instagram if you guys are into that kind of stuff. And this vlog is already off to a bang. Speaking of bangs, the original Bang member here, probably the reason why you guys like Bang so much, has sat down at our table. Bang! He's in the 2 seat accompanied by his girlfriend, and him and Aram get into a fairly large pot, and Aram gets the better of him this time, but if you guys know how Mariano plays, he's due to win some of that back for sure. Speaking of the 7 of spades, we look down at our favorite hand, pocket 7s here, and I raise it up to $30. We get 2 callers, and then Mariano, he may still be a little upset from that pot with Aram. He 3-bets us to $150. He could just be trying to take down all these $30 bets here, but I'm not going to be folding my favorite hand, and especially not at his meetup game. How would that look for me? So I toss in the $150. Middle position calls as well. We're going 3 ways to a flop, which comes ace-4-3 rainbow. When I get 3-bet by Mariano, I'm going to check it over to him. The middle position has similar ideas, and Mariano claps his hands, indicating to the dealer he's looking to see a free turn card, which pairs the top card. It comes the ace of hearts. Now, when Mariano checks back the flop, I'm not going to be stabbing into him here on the turn. Why? He could be checking back with some weak aces like ace-5, ace-6, ace-7, or he could have hands like kings, queens, and jacks. Also, by checking here, it might induce him to go for a bluff, thinking I wouldn't check 2 times with a pocket pair. So for that reason, I check it over to middle position, who decides to do the same thing that he did in the last street and check it over to Mariano. Mariano does not take the bait. He checks behind, and that pairs the bottom card now. It comes the 3 of clubs. Could we go for a lead on this river? Sure, we could get value from very specific hands like pocket 6s and pocket 5s. I still want to just bluff catch with this hand, so I check it over to middle position, checks it over to Mariano, and this hand was a little bit boring. Mariano checks behind, expecting to be good here when he doesn't bet the river. I show my pocket 7s, and this is why they're my favorite hand. $480 coming my way when both opponents fold, and nice to get involved in a little pot there with Mariano at his own meetup game.
trying to get me drunk.
Drink it all. Chug this motherfucker right
This
here.
looks awesome, man. Thanks, Fish.
Yeah, you got it.
After acquiring some more liquid courage from our buddy Fish Poker, we look down at King 10 of spades from the small blind. The button raises it up to $20, and I put in the call here. We could be going for a 3-bet. Instead, I elect to call here, and that brings in the under the gun limper as well. We're off 3 ways to a flop with 2 very competent opponents, and we see a flop of 10-7 deuce with 2 hearts. The action checks over to the button, who goes for a c-bet of $30. When I flop top pair, not going to be folding to a measly $30 bet. I put in the call, and the under the gun does as well. We're going 3 ways still to the turn, which comes the ace of hearts. Not exactly the best card, puts an overcard to our 10 and brings in the front door flush draw, and the action checks around on the turn, bringing in the 7 of spades. I now go for a blocker bet of $20. I could also get paid off from worse 10s here, just not believing us in the slightest. So when I bet out for $20, under the gun puts in the call. The button does as well, and I don't even get a chance to turn over my King 10 suited because the button turns over 7-6 offsuit. So he's going to take down that $210 pot there, and I really like my bet on the river because it's probable that he would have gone for a much larger bet, and we would have been put in a tough spot there. Either way, we finally lose a hand at this meetup game, but the run bad will not continue for very much longer. We then scoop a double board PLO bomb pot with 2 pair on one board and trips on the other. Stack the opponent, he leaves the shot before I can even put him in the video, and we're assembling a large wall of chips here at the Hustler.
Fish is challenging me to my monthly embarrassment.
Oh my lord. No, he's got this. Never has he given up. Ever. Never has he ever given up. Let's go. There you go. Let's go. Bang. Bang. Bang.
Another beer down, another hand to come. We're in the cutoff with pocket 9s and the $10 straddle is on. I come in for a pretty standard raise to $30, and the Rom in the big blind puts in the call. The flop comes 5-3 deuce rainbow. Pretty good board for us, and a Rom checks it over to me. Wouldn't expect him to do anything less than check. So I go for a $30 c-bet, and he snap calls me. Doesn't even think about it for a second, putting his chips in the middle. What a great guy. He checks it over to me for a second time when the king of spades peels off on the turn. Even though it's an overcard to my hand, I will have a lot of kings in my range here on the turn. I'm going to be stabbing on the flop with ace king, king queen suited. So this king of spades is a card that we want to continue betting on. If he just calls us here on the turn, we could check back on the river and get to a cheap showdown. If we check behind on the turn, he could blast a lot of rivers and put us in a tough spot. So for that reason, getting value when we're ahead and getting to a cheap showdown, I really like my $60 bet here. Aram does as well. He puts in the call, and suddenly we're off to a river in a $250 pot, which pairs the 3 and brings in the backdoor spade draw. It comes a 3 of spades. Aram checks it over to me, and just like I said on the last street, we're going to get to a cheap showdown here. I check behind and table my pocket 9s right away. He mucks his cards face down, and we're up $720 here at the Hustler.
Oh, it's Ethan! The hammer table!
All right, one more green tea shot.
Green tea shots.
That was a brutal one.
Cheers! Cheers!
That's too fun. I might have to leave next time.
Can we get a bang?
Ethan comes to the table, we take some more shots. What else is new? We look down at queen jack offsuit from the small blind. The straddle's on, and after a few calls, I raise it up to $50. Who puts in the call this time? None other than Aram. He wants the battle. He wants to make this vlog about him. He puts in the call, and we're going heads up to a flop. Out of position. Let's see if we can win another pot against him. The flop comes ace-9-6 with 2 clubs, and I go for a c-bet here of half pot for $40. He snap calls me once again. He seems to only have 1 gear and 1 speed. It's just call, and it's call fast. So when a 3 of spades comes on the turn, I could exercise some caution here, knowing that he likes to call. I could check it over to him, but that'd be pretty weak. That'd be giving up on the hand. I didn't just take a green tea shot to check it over to Ram and give up. So I blast into him for $145. You guys know that I'm obviously bluffing this spot, but Aram doesn't necessarily have to believe this. I've been showing a lot of really good cards, and I'm a pretty tight player for the most part, so I'm going to have a lot of pocket aces, 6s, 9s, ace king, ace queen, hands of that nature, maybe even ace 6. My bluffs here would be 7-8 suited, some club varieties. I would really never show up with queen jack offsuit unless I was hammered at a meetup game. So I put in $145, expecting to get the job done here on the turn. I guess Aram came to play. He puts in the call, bringing a pretty harmless deuce of hearts on the river. I probably should just be giving up on this river card, but in the moment I was thinking if he was calling me on the flop and turn with a club draw, he's going to fold here on the river. Additionally, if he had a hand like 7-8 or maybe 9-10, 9-jack, he'd also have to fold here if I bet around half the size of the pot. So that's exactly what I do. I bet out for $225. Great news for us is when Aram, Mr. One Speed, always calling really fast, he doesn't put in the snap call, which is great news. That makes me like my river bet even more. He probably has a weak hand here, definitely doesn't have an ace. He'd probably snap call me on the river here. So he doesn't have a club draw when he doesn't snap fold. So he probably has a pair like a 9, maybe a pocket pair, and he just needs to fold his hand here, and we're going to win this $1,000 pot. But eventually he comes to the right decision for himself, not for me. When he puts in $225, I say, nice hand, you're good, and I table my queen high. Sure enough, he shows 10-9 offsuit, so he makes a great call there on the river. I tried to make it look like a value bet on the river, betting half pot there, not going for a polarized full pot size bet. Aram finally makes a great call against me, and Ethan doesn't take any time before needling me in this $1,000 pot.
Look at this. Oh man, this is a big one.
This
is
is
the way
a
you like
big
them.
one. Let's go!
I'm glad everyone's having fun at my expense. I had to drink another beer with Fish Poker. It was a tall boy this time, I think a 20 ouncer, so yeah, we're feeling pretty great. Next hand we have 1100 in our stack. I have King Queen of Hearts, and Aram raises it up to $20. There's one call in between us, and I 3-bet him to $100. Only he puts in the call, the middle position caller gets out of the way, and we're heads up to a flop, which comes 10-7 deuce with 2 hearts. Pretty great board for us, and we have the betting action. You can't see because I have $300 stacks of yellows in front of the betting line, but I bet out for $50. And Aram puts in the call. So going heads up to the turn here, which doesn't improve us. It comes the 5 of diamonds. With 320 in the middle, I decide to check here. If he decides to take up the betting lead and bet, I'm obviously not going to be folding my 2 overs and the front door heart draw. So I really like my check here, just exercising a little bit of deception. He now decides to bet $225, which is definitely a large bet, into the $320 pot. Hopefully he has a heart draw of his own and we can cooler him here on the river. So I make the call, and suddenly we're off to the river in a $900 pot, which pairs the board, but it's the 5 of hearts. Bang! We river the flush. Great spot to be in here, but I'm in a tough spot here. I'm going to ask you guys to leave a comment down below. Would you A, check in flow over to Aram when we make the flush? Would you B, lead out into Aram for around $300 into the $900 pot? Or would you C, bet full pot here for $900, fully polarizing and putting him to the test? Let me know down in the comments what you guys would do, and let's see what I do in the moment. I like to go for B, bet $300 into the $900 pot. I don't want him to check behind. We need to get value here when he called 225 on the turn. So it seems pretty obvious that I made a flush on the river, but I bet out for $300. Aram puts in the call. He only has 1 speed, if you guys remember. He puts in the $300, and I table my King Queen of Hearts. He ends up showing pocket queen, so interesting decision from him not to 4-bet me pre-flop with the queens, or check raise me on the flop, or bet the turn for that matter. But we're taking down that nearly $1,500 pot with our rivered flush, and seeing a heart on the river there has never felt so good.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for this Red Robin app to download.
So Leo hooked it up with a Elysian beer. Thanks, Leo.
Hey, thanks.
Cheers, brother.
Let's go, bro.
Big blind. I'm in. Thanks, brother. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, sure, bro.
Thank you.
Another beer down, another hand incoming. We have 1,600 in our stack, and I look down at ace queen offsuit from the small blind. Aram in the cutoff raises it up to $20. I decide to put in the call this time, and we're off to a flop out of position, which comes queen 10-9 rainbow, and I check it over to him. He bets out for $30, could be going for the check raise. Instead, I elect to go for the call, and we're off to the turn in a $100 pot. Coming the 5 of clubs, pretty harmless. I check it over to him for a second time. Now he decides to polarize and bet over pot for $105. Not really sure what he's representing here. If he had a hand like Jack 8 or King Jack, you'd think he'd go a little bit smaller. He might have a set or 2 pair here, but I just can't be folding top pair, top kicker. I toss in 2 chips and we're off to the river. 310 in the middle, and the river comes the 5 of hearts. Really great card for us because now we beat 9-10. We could be checking over to him, but I elect to go for another blocker bet here of $35, around a 1/10 the size of the pot, and that puts Aram in the blender. He says he has a really strong hand here and that he's going to be a nit and just call. That's why I really like these small bets here and puts the opponent in a tough spot. To be fair though, if he has a really strong hand, he probably should just be raising me here.
I mean, fuck. I'm gonna be a nit and call with a straight.
He puts in the call, which is the right decision, and turns over Jack 8 for the straight. He flopped it. And a great bet from me there again, because he definitely would have bet larger on the river, and I saved myself some money. But a nice hand, Aram. You're finally catching up to me in the win count here.
Alright. Oh, there's so much. Dude, I mean, Alex was able to finish it. You surely are better than Alex.
Alex was in a frat. First of all, I was not in a frat. Alright, I'm out.
Alright, tapping out. Tapping out.
Leave it to Ethan to make some more excuses why he can't finish a beer or even drink half of it. I'll let you guys roast him in his own videos. I look down at pocket tens and I raise it up to $35 from under the gun position over a $10 straddle. Pretty standard so far. The big blind and the straddler both call. We're off 3 ways to the flop with a pretty great hand, and the flop comes queen 5-4 rainbow. When the action checks to me, I'm going to have a lot of strong queens in my range. I want to go for some value here and see if anyone calls us, and we can proceed with caution on the turn. I bet out for $45. Big blind gets out of the way. The straddler puts in the call, so we're off to the turn here, which comes the 4 of clubs, pairing the bottom card. When he checks it to me for a second time, we could check behind here, but instead, I elect to go for a tricky $20 bet, and he snap calls me, so let's see what happens on the river. Can I get to another cheap showdown here? When the river comes the jack of spades, he checks it to me for a 3rd time, and my $20 bet was just trying to get to a cheap showdown here, especially when another overcard comes to my 10s. So I snap check behind and show my cards immediately. He mucks his cards. Now we're up 550 on the session going into the last hand of the night. Last hand, we look down at king, queen of clubs. We're in the cutoff. The hijack opens it up to $25, and a strong hand like king, queen of clubs, we got to be going for the 3-bet. I make it $65. The opponent pretty quickly puts in the call, and we're heads up in position to a flop, which comes 10-7-4 rainbow. The opponent checks to me, and I go for a c-bet here of $70. Probably a board I could be checking behind on, and when I bet $70, he pounces on my mistake and puts in the call. When the turn comes to 5, he checks it over to me, and I'm not going to be compounding on my mistakes here. I check behind, and that brings in the jack on the river. The opponent doesn't want to get to a cheap showdown here. He bets out for $125. Could it be a bluff? Sure. It could also be a very strong hand. So when he bets out for $125, I'm not looking to pay to play. I muck my cards, and sure enough, he turns over pocket 10, so we flop top set there, and that's going to conclude our night. We rack up our chips and head over to the cage.
I don't know, bro. What is up, you guys? Cashing out from the Hustler Casino in that game for 1,000, out for 906, loss of $94. Just didn't go our way at the end there. As always, good luck on the felt. Appreciate all of your support. Drop a like on this video, subscribe if you're new, leave a comment down below. Good luck as always on the felt. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace!
Thanks for watching to the end of my video. Click my head below to subscribe and stay in the loop. See you next time.